You can turn your space into that feel good place that you always wanted. The past month, being confined in these four walls has got me creative on making more room and decorating differently. I'm not sure if you knew, but back in the day, I was actually contemplating going into interior design. But I took one AutoCAD class and realized that that just wasn't my jam, so I let it go and went into fashion. But I still love a good makeover show, adding things on Pinterest, and looking at DIYs that I will probably never do in real life. Lucky for me, I can live through Rebecca West, who has some great content, and she is an award winning interior designer who's been featured in Success Magazine, Seattle Refined, Uniquely Northwest, and more. And 13 years ago, Rebecca looked around her house and realized I cannot keep living like this. So she transformed her home and her space into something different because of a recent divorce, and she used her budget in mind. And now she's on a mission to help other people find happiness and create a home that feels good. Rebecca uses design psychology to help create homes that encourage them to achieve their goals. And she empowers homeowners to create a space where you ignore the rules and simply make a space happy for you. And there's so much goodness in this conversation, but here are a few highlights. We talk about what it takes to decorate on a small budget, finding permission to follow through with those ideas that you've had forever, the trick to decorating your home when your partner has a different idea of style, and how your home could be blocking you from achieving your goals. Hey there, and welcome to the Lifepreneur Project. I'm Tanya Bernadette, a personal stylist who's passionate about helping others live their best life. But there's more to fashion than designer names and sparkly handbags. I love authentic conversations and sharing the true stories behind business, relationships, parenting, and personal growth. Style is a reflection of life, and I want to empower others through fashion and entrepreneurship. I am so happy to have you here today. I have known you since, I think the first time that we met was back in the day when Biznic was the biggest networking business here in the Seattle area. And since then, I've loved watching your business grow. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
And it sounds like we both have been kind of in business around the same time. I'm going to be 11 years in business April 11th. And how about you?
I will be 13 years in business November 7th.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we are on the same tracks.
And yeah, so that's why I love watching people that we have had our businesses around the same time, because seeing all the shifts that we've had to make throughout the years, I think is really amazing. And seeing like our personal growth too, the colors of our branding and everything is.
Yeah, which has totally changed over the years.
Yeah, I think I've rebranded 3 times.
Yep, me too. 3 business names, in fact.
Yeah, me too. That's awesome. So I would really like to start with a quote that is on your website. I think it kind of sums everything up that we're going to be talking about. It's at the very top, and it says, "Is your home happy? Well, if it makes you feel embarrassed, anxious, or stressed out, then maybe it could be happier. If it's filled with colors that you hate, stuff you didn't choose, or things that you just don't care about, it's time to cheer up that space." And the reason why I want to start with this is because you personally started your business because your home wasn't aligning with you anymore and you just weren't happy with the memories. So for the people that don't know your story, can you share with us what your story is?
Absolutely. So it's a pretty normal story in that 13 years ago, I got divorced. There's the pre-marriage time and then there's the after-marriage time. And my ex-husband moved out. I got to keep the house, but even though he moved out, all of those memories, all of our furniture, all the paint colors, it was all still there. And I wasn't an interior designer at the time. I had quit my career teaching ballroom dance. So I was kind of between things, between marriages, between jobs. Nothing. But what I had was this house, and the house was totally making me feel horrible. Because I was looking around at my past, the sofa would whisper at me as I was walking past it, you're a failure, which is not a good way to live. So one day I just woke up and I said, I can't keep living like this. And I got some old paint out of the garage and I started painting and it was horrible. Like it was bad because the paint was black. I painted my vaulted ceilings black,
Oh my God.
but even though it looked truly atrocious, it was actually the best thing I could have done because it just broke the whole space free from the earlier energy. And because it looked so bad, it really gave me permission to try again with intention. And I went and bought like paint on purpose. And I sold all my furniture on Craigslist. I bought all, quote unquote, new furniture on Craigslist for myself. Because remember, I'm on a no career, no marriage, divorced woman's budget. Um, but I totally made my space my own, and it let me live in my future about who I wanted to be instead of being trapped in that old story. And that's when I decided, I want to do this for other people.
I think that that is amazing. I truly do believe that difficult situations in our life, if we do open our mind to the possibilities of the future and after, it's helpful. Personally, on my divorce, I was young. I didn't do that. I took a whole other route, but that's when I did one of my rebrands to my business though, because I was like, I felt like my business kind of grew with who I was, which is
Mm-hmm.
an interesting way of thinking of it. Because some people really like to separate their business from themselves, but when you're close to your business, I feel like you evolve with your business. So it's kind of
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Where did you find the confidence to start? Because I love that story. I think that's amazing. But after that situation that happened with the black paint, how did you find the confidence to go out and become an interior designer? Did you take any classes? Did you like read magazines? How did that come about?
No, okay. So to be fair, I was like many interior designers. I was the kid who would decorate her room. When I was 13, I asked for a whole room makeover as my birthday present. My dorm room had matching curtains, and I brought in carpeting and I cut it to fit the room. So I mean, I was that person. But I never took it seriously as a career path. I have a geology degree. I have a community and environmental planning degree. I was in the Peace Corps. Like I was civic minded, and like throw pillows didn't seem to fit my idea of things that would help the world. Because I always thought of interior design as like this thing for luxury, right? For people who have too much money, too many houses, too much space. Not my jam. But when I went through it myself, I was like, oh, this can help people. Like this talent that I actually have could be put to use to help people. So that's like part one. So the second part is I didn't really have anything to lose. I didn't have any kids, which does make things easier, makes risk taking easier. I definitely didn't have a marriage, and I didn't have a job that I enjoyed. So, you know, people think it took a lot of courage, but in some ways, you just got to harness those moments when everything falls apart because you're never going to have that clean of a slate ever again. And a time when, yeah, it's totally scary, but what have you got to lose?
I
you
did
know?
the same exact thing. And it's really interesting because when I did that 11 years ago, starting my business too, I didn't have any savings. I signed a lease for a year, recent grad from college. I went home to my husband at the time and I was like, I signed a lease for an office space for a year. He's like, you don't have any clients. What are you doing? And I always ask myself, because I just had my first baby 3 months ago. And so I always ask myself, if I had a child at the time, would I still take all the risks I did?
Right.
And I found out after having this baby and with what's happening in the world, I actually am continuing to take risks, surprisingly. So I think that's just part of our spirit of being creative people and entrepreneurs that just comes out, I think.
Well, and I think that if you do have kids, it's even more important because now you're actually modeling behavior for somebody else. So while I think it's easier to take risks when it's only you on the line, I think it's even more important to take those risks because otherwise you risk modeling, staying with a job you hate, staying with a life you hate. And that's not something that any of us want to be our legacy. So no matter who you're modeling for, taking the risks, even when they're scarier, it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I didn't have a degree in it. I had some talent for it. I started off with color. I am very good with color, just, a universe granted talent. So I had to use that and redesign. I didn't start off with remodels. I just started with what I knew. I grew up in the military. We always moved. My family was the kind of family that had everything unpacked and put in place in 2 weeks. I thought that was normal. It's not. So I started with what I knew, and then baby step by baby step over the years, people would ask me to do a little bit more than I was comfortable with. About 2 years in, I did go back and get an associate's in interior design because I'm like, I just feel like maybe I should have a few more tools in my toolbox. But the rest of it has been 13 years of experiential learning, we'll just call it.
And I really like that you mentioned that you don't work, and you realize that like your target market isn't people that have giant homes and a huge spending budget. I mean, we are in a good economy in Seattle and Bellevue area, but my clients are the same. I work with just everyday people that want help. So I want you to talk more about, is there a certain time in people's lives where you find that they seek out your services, or is there any
Yeah.
kind of thing change in their life that they're looking for in themselves or?
It tends to come up during moments of transition. So, but not necessarily in the moment of transition. So, like, it's not when people are getting divorced, but maybe a year or two later when, all the emotion is kind of simmered down. They're like, okay, I need to come out of this. So,
Mhm.
it's those kinds of transitions: divorce, empty nesting, getting your first grown up job or grown up apartment, or having, not having your first baby, because most people actually want to do their own nurseries, I find. But like now when they have their kids are like 3, 4, and 5, and they're like, can I get my life and my house back? You
Yeah.
know? So it's usually a little bit after the transition where the earthquake has settled down and they look around and go, okay, but my house is still stuck in the old story. And I'd like it to be about where I'm headed, not where I've been.
And I am really curious because when I was younger, I wanted to be an interior designer. And then I took AutoCAD and I hated AutoCAD and I hate math. And I was like, no, I just want to make everything look pretty. But just, I don't know anything about interior design, by the way. Um, how do you help? I'm always curious, like, how do you actually help clients that are on a budget?
Oh, well, okay. First of all, you have to realize that every client is on a budget, right? It's just a matter of what budget that is. Because even people who have buckets and buckets of money still say they're on a budget. So at first you have to figure out when somebody says that, what kind of money are we talking about? Um, and then so once we establish that, like, okay, are we talking you have $5, $50, $50,000, $500,000? Like, what do you mean by that? Assuming that we're talking about, you know, 2 and 3 zeros and not more zeros than that. It's first about, honestly, so much of it is about first getting rid of things in your house that shouldn't be there, right? There's so much that flows into our house that shouldn't be there, and just the tidying up and the organizing. And then if you're on a true budget, you're gonna have to get your hands dirty. You need to embrace some of the DIY stuff. When I was going through my own transition, I painted my own walls. I moved around my own furniture. I bought a sofa. I would love the sofa. It was a turquoise velvet sofa on Craigslist. It's like $5 because it had no feet and had some holes in it. But I wanted a turquoise velvet sofa so bad. So I bought it, and then I did some creative patching and I found a way to add feet to it. So you do that when you have less money, you have to be more creative. So with those clients, my job is to help them think through the ideas. And so often my job is either giving people permission to move forward with the ideas they already have, because a lot of people know what they need or know what they want. They're just afraid to follow through with it. Or my job is to help them think past the obstacles that they're seeing. So we get really used to our own spaces and we stop seeing solutions, or we stop seeing even the problems, even though we are accommodating our houses. I'm a victim of this too. I spent a year coming home to my house angry because I would get to my front door and my lock would not open. It was one of those stupid sticky locks. The key didn't want to turn in it. A year of that. And my husband's a contractor. So part of it was, I was like, my husband should fix that. And then I would get mad at him every time I came home. I don't know what made me change my mind, but one day woke up, went, this is dumb, went to Home Depot, bought a new lock, grabbed a screwdriver, and 20 minutes later, it was fixed. So I had to recognize the problem, take ownership for the solution, and then take action on it. So it's about empowering, brainstorming solutions, thinking outside the box. And then sometimes it's also about giving people permission to spend a little bit more money, because mean, money isn't a real thing. We all have a certain amount of it. We're all making choices about how to spend it every single day. So if something about your home really is making you miserable, and if you could change it and it's a choice between maybe that and going out to eat for a month, maybe you make the choice to change the thing. So it's just choices. That was a really long-winded answer, but I hope
That's
that
a
helps.
good answer, though. And I like that you brought about, because I didn't know that you did that. You talk about just taking things out from your home that just don't feel good anymore. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
such an important thing because every time you walk past that picture, you walk past that item, you're just going to have this negative energy attached to it. And so people
Oh my
just
God,
hold
yeah.
on to things for way too long.
Especially if they spent a lot of money on it, or if somebody gave it to them that they feel guilty about. The guilty thing is harder to handle because if it's a family heirloom or something, you've got to handle that delicately. But when you buy, like I had a client that I helped through a virtual call. She's in Texas. I helped her 2 weeks ago. She has a sofa. It's a beautiful sofa. When she was buying the sofa, she felt like I shouldn't buy this sofa. And she hasn't sat on it once. She hates it. It's very uncomfortable. But not only did she spend a lot of money on it, she said she had to take the hinges off the door to get it in the house. So now she feels like she has to keep it.
Stuck.
So, right? But I'm like, okay, if this was a bad boyfriend or something, like even if you had to take the hinges off the door, you'd kick him out, right? So why would you let, and that's a human that you have to deal with, why would you let a sofa stay in your life? Like, I don't care how much money you spent on something. If it is bringing you down, you got to find a solution because life is too short and this is the one space we have any control over.
Agreed completely. And I like that you are doing Zoom calls. How else has your business changed in the past few weeks with everything happening?
Uh,
Because I know we just talked before going on this video how many video calls we have done. And I know for myself, I don't think I've ever done so many video calls in my life. Have you done
yeah.
any other shifts in your business as well besides video calling people?
Well, I'm doing a little bit more of some things, a little bit less of some things, and we're still, I will admit, we're still in experiment mode. It's only been, we're in the third week of the stay-at-home order here where we are. So, the first 2 weeks wasn't that big a deal because we had the ongoing projects and the whole team was able to work on those from home, which really wasn't that weird.
Hmm.
But now with it going on for a month, that's a change. We definitely don't have new inquiries coming in, which we did the first 2 weeks. So everybody, the whole world is like on pause. So what we're doing, I am still doing my virtual helpline calls, but we are actually offering them for free. We're going to do a limited number for free every week. I'm only making it a limited number just in case because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But I'm going to do as many as I can. The team's on board with that too. We're in a financial position right now where we can do that, and that's a blessing. So really, we're just making use of tools that we already had in place but weren't using very much, like the virtual calls, the design helpline. Same with my coaching. All my business coaching has always been virtual, so that's been easy. I mean, no change, I guess. And then I'm really focusing on, what are the systems that I've been meaning to improve anyway, right? So the whole team is going to go on starting next week a scheduled structure time to learn a new design program because we've outgrown our old design program. So we're going to have study time and homework time structured in for the next 4 weeks. We actually just hired a new admin assistant right when this all happened. So she's very slowly learning her job virtually through Zoom from our other admin assistant who's moving into a different position. So I wouldn't say I have answers. It's always an experiment. But the thing is, it's been 13 years of being an experiment. That's what business is. And it's about taking action and throwing some spaghetti at the walls and seeing what sticks.
I found this time to be really helpful. I've been creating an online course since September, which it's almost maybe not as intense as doing a book, but it is still very detail
Oh,
oriented.
I'm sure it's just as intense. Yeah.
And there's a lot I have to learn. Just besides making the course, I have to learn the back end, the Facebook ads, so literally everything. And I took a course to make a course. Anyways, with that said, this has been such a wonderful time to bring it to life because it's finally going to launch. And I've actually really appreciated not having as many clients right now because I can also zone in on like you
Yeah.
said, working on the behind the scenes stuff that we just, as business owners, we don't look at it all the time. And now we're like, okay, well, what can we fix? What wasn't working before and what can we change now? I think that's great
And
for our clients.
I think that's the key to all of this, because if you, we could spend our time watching too much news and too much Netflix, and the time will fly by. We'll be miserable. We'll probably be fat too because I'm doing a lot of comfort eating. But you have a choice, right? You can instead say, okay, I'm in a different circumstance. What am I going to do with this time? What do I want my life to look like in a month? And what action can I take towards that end? It's just about being intentional and not letting yourself fall down the rabbit hole of despair, because that is, I mean, the roller coaster is real. I have had my tearful moments in the last couple of weeks where you just go, how am I going to handle this? How am I going to keep my team employed? But you can't stay there because it's not a healthy or productive place to stay.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know if it's better my way of just being so laser focused with my schedule. Like I created my own schedule, what time I wake up. My morning, I get my baby, I get my coffee, we go make coffee. I open all the windows to the house, then I sit down.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm finding my own routine and just staying really focused because, like you said, the first week, I'm not going to lie, I was watching the news almost every day and I got
Of
up
course.
and my chest was so tight and I was like, is this a coronavirus or is this anxiety? You know? And so I decided no more news. So since then, I haven't
Yeah.
sat down to watch the news. It was so bad. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just keeping my focus elsewhere. I know there's that happening in the world and I'm staying updated with the news that we need to know.
Yeah.
But besides that,
And routine is essential because it's essential in any circumstance. It doesn't make coronavirus particularly unusual. No matter what circumstance your life is or what curveballs are thrown at you, you do have to develop a new routine because that is how we get through the day to day. And what makes this all so exhausting, what makes transition at all so exhausting, whether it's divorce or empty nesting or coronavirus, it doesn't really matter, is that you have to develop a new routine. Nothing is normal anymore. Everything that you did mindlessly before, I get up, I take a shower, I get my clothes on, I get in my car, I go through the drive-through, I get my coffee, I get to the office. All of that was on autopilot. And as soon as your world is disrupted by whatever, there is no autopilot. And that's why it's so exhausting. It's why we have to give ourselves so much grace and say, naps are now allowed, right? The day can be shorter. I'm allowed to have 2 Zoom calls and then go have a 2-hour lunch because it took so much out of me. And it takes more out of us because nothing's on autopilot. And so now that we're getting into week 3 and week 4, I think people are going to find that everything feels a little bit easier if they've been working on trying to find some routines because they're getting some of their autopilots back. I know that's happening for me.
yep, I completely agree. Um, I also want to talk more about your team and that shift that you made in your business. When did you decide that you wanted to grow your team?
Um, well, my first hire about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7. I don't know. Time's weird. It flies. But what happened was I was working too many hours. It's that crossroads where you're like, I have to either hire help or say no to clients or something. And um, and I think that that's really what has shifted anything in my business is you get to a point where like something's got to give here. For me, it was really the first decision was, do I want to hire administrative help or do I want to hire design help? Because I, I didn't feel like I was serving my clients very well. It felt like I wanted it to be design help, but I chose admin help because I felt like if I'm going to hire one person, I'm going to grow, then I'm going to really grow. I want to hire more than just one person. Otherwise, I want to stay really small. If I'm going to have more than one designer, then I'd better start with admin help because the structures need to be there for as I grow. Because otherwise, it's going to be the wrong order, and I'm going to have to like reverse engineer a bunch of structures, and that didn't make any sense. So, started with admin help. Literally, I put an ad out on Craigslist, and it said something like, I need help. I need admin help, 5 to 10 hours a week, minimum wage, which at the time I think was $12 an hour. And I said, I don't know what your job is. So part of your job is figuring out your job and helping me write it down. And I was like, I have no idea if anybody's even going to answer this ad. It was the silliest ad. And lots of people did, because it turns out there's lots of people who are kind of between things and they're trying to just fill their time and figure out their own life. And so I found this amazing human. Her name was Dana. And she has gone back since to her music career, but she was taking a break from her music career, trying to figure out her things. And she came in and just helped me figure things out. She was my unicorn. And that it was amazing. And the only thing that was hard about it was she was so incredible that when she decided to go back to her own career, I mean, Niagara Falls tears. I was like, I'm never going to find another Dana. But it was a really important moment in my business. So it was actually, having Dana leave was more important than when she joined me, because having her leave was the part where I was scared. Like, I'll never have help again. And when I then found more help, I was like, okay, there's not one solution to this. Everybody's going to have different talents. They're going to bring different things, different energy, all these things to the team, but they're all going to bring something wonderful to the team. And so it was okay for me to let her go and create the room for the next wonderful assistant, which really is an analogy for everything in our lives. You know, you've got to let go of old clothes to make room for new clothes, old, art or tchotchkes or sofas to make room for new art and tchotchkes and sofas. Like, we'll never grow if we don't let go of old wonderful things in order to make space for new wonderful things. So that was the start of my hiring.
And your team has grown so much. And I love that you have such a big team. My team is not that big. It used to be pretty big when I had my office and my
Yeah,
store. But
you had a whole shop.
yeah, but I love the team environment. And like you said, the first time you let that first person go, that was your everything. And then you have to venture out and find someone. It's scary, but then you realize, oh my gosh, now you want so many people on your team because everyone has something so different to contribute, and it helps you grow as well.
Yeah.
And they hold you accountable. So once it continues
Oh,
growing, you are
yeah.
held more accountable.
Oh, for sure. And you just treat, it's also like the first time I got my first lease, which actually was not the first thing I did. My Dana helped out of my home. But all these things, when we do them, they help our business grow up. We start treating our business more professionally, because it's not just, us in our pajamas anymore. We have to put clothes on, for example, when other people are coming into our offices. So I think that even though it's terrifying, having people on your team not only helps you serve more people, but it also helps the company become its next version of itself.
And I was curious, going through your website, what are your affiliate designers? How are they different from working with you?
Yeah. So the affiliate program started because we work within 10 miles of Green Lake. Traffic is too bad in Seattle. I don't want to spend my time driving. I want to spend my time helping people. So our team, our core team, and our staff designers help people within 10 miles of Green Lake. But we would get calls, because we've done a pretty good job doing the marketing thing over the years. We'd get calls from people that are outside of our zone. So I decided to experiment with finding like-minded designers who have firms of their own, who would be willing to do our quick action sessions. Because our quick action sessions are the thing that really sets us apart from other design services. We will go into somebody's house for 90 minutes and answer any question they have about anything theoretically design related, but it could be anything. And then we just disappear. There's no upselling. There's no strings attached. It's not like a consultation for a bigger project, because some people just need literally to pick a designer's brain, right? For lots of reasons. So I decided to find like-minded designers from my community who work in other territories. So we have somebody who does the North End, the Woodinville area, somebody who does the East Side, and then somebody who's in the West Seattle kind of Burien area. And that's what they're there for. And then they have their own clients. If it's a full project, they take that on themselves, and that client just becomes their client instead of a Seriously Happy Homes client. So we've worked all that out behind the scenes. But it lets us help more people.
Yeah. And that is something that you can probably easily do on Zoom. You could walk around your house and be like, oh, I have a question about this, or have a question about that. That's
Well,
awesome.
and we hadn't, so that's one of the changes though, is we hadn't really been doing the QA sessions virtually. I was doing my helpline, which is just 30 minutes to kind of talk through like how do you feel about your house, the design psychology stuff that I get so excited about and that my book's about. But the QAs, I always was like, I don't know if we can really do those virtually. Well, thanks to coronavirus, I have found that actually I can. And just yesterday, I was helping somebody with their master bedroom, with paint colors, with how to arrange the bedroom, with what to look for in their curtains, how high to hang them. You have to get a little bit more creative because I can't go over there and point, you know.
Mhm.
But as long as we're both communicating effectively and their video is on, can't do it without a video, we can do it. So I guess I can officially now help people that aren't within 10 miles of Green Lake. Yay.
So people can work with you one on one. They could work with you on Zoom. You also
Right.
have a book.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about your book because for people that are loving this interview and want to get to know you more, tell us what your book
Yeah.
is going to share with us.
I am very proud of my book. So I wrote my book um, because I was kind of getting away from those roots, right? When I said, like, I just wanted my home to make me happy. I changed my home to make sure it was doing that. And then over time, I was just doing a lot of bathroom and kitchen remodels, but I was getting away from that like design psychology foundation. So I decided to write a book, and it's called Happy Starts at Home. It's divided into chapters that are really aligned with the goals we all set for ourselves. So, like, I want to live a more healthy lifestyle. I want to have stronger romantic relationships. I want to have stronger family relationships. I want to be more financially sound. So we set all of these goals for ourselves. And I 100% believe and have found that those goals can either be supported by or sabotaged by our spaces. Small example would be like if you keep saying, I really want to cook more at home because I don't want to eat as much processed food or I don't want to spend as much money on eating out. But you hate your kitchen either because the counters are too cluttered or because it's just like everything's jammed and you can't operate the drawers and the cabinets effectively, or you just don't like the room because there's old memories in there, or you just hate the color. Like it can be tiny things or big things. For whatever reason, you hate going in your kitchen, and yet you say you want to cook at home more. Well, your goal, that's not aligned. They're competing with each other. You say you want to go for a run every single day, but your closet or your entry closet is totally jammed packed with stuff that's not even clothes related. You can't find the clothes that you need to go out for a run easily when it's raining or that fit you or that make you not feel horrible about your body. Again, what's happening in your house isn't aligned with the goals that you say you have for yourself. So that's what the book is about. It is about seeing the house through the eyes of the goals that you have and figuring out how it's sabotaging those goals or how it could be supporting those goals. And there's exercises in the book because it's meant to be an interactive experience. And it's also got beautiful pictures in it, but the pictures are not the point. The pictures support the message because it's not supposed to be aspirational. It's supposed to be about what you need for your house.
I should totally get that. I love books that have little activities at the end that you can do. I think those are so helpful. And I was using Audible for a while, but I think I used it for 4 or 5 months, and I liked it because when I was driving to my client's house, I
Yeah.
could listen to stuff. But I'm one of those people that highlights, and I like to just go back and read stuff, and I can't do that with any of the books that I had. So I'm glad,
Yeah.
yeah, people should definitely buy that book then.
And I will say, just for fun, the publisher priced it really, really well. It is beautiful, full of pictures, hardback, hardcover, and it's like 14 bucks.
That's
Like,
such a good price.
I know, right? We wanted to make sure that this tool could be available for people, that it's not something that there's any obstacle to getting.
And can they get it from your website?
There's a link on my website, but it just takes you over to Amazon. Super easy.
Wonderful. I want you to share and talk about maybe one or two really special items in your house.
I can only pick two. Oh my
I
God.
know.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and admit that I'm not going to put my husband or a cat on the list because those aren't objects. Okay, I'm going to go with number one, my hanging chair. I have a hanging chair in my living room. It makes me ridiculously happy. And I love it because I have a swing in my grown up living room. Like, how fun is that? And I like spaces that feel fun. But also, my grandma had a swinging chair in her living room. So it evokes the memories of being in that chair and being in that space with my grandma when I was a little girl. That is definitely one of my most favorite objects in my house. Only one more. Oh no, this is going to be horrible. Okay, this is a group of things. So you can see it. There's a squirrel over my head. There's a crow right there. My guest room, there's an octopus, a giant octopus shower curtain. There's a leather toad and a rabbit stuffed animal. So there are animals all over my house. And again, it's just because I love them. Like, I love them. So I only try and restrain myself because my husband does live here too. And I want to make sure it's a house for both of us. It's probably a good thing because otherwise it might get a little crazy with all of the animal cute things I would end up with in my house.
I have a question from that. So you live with somebody. How do you work with people that are living together and obviously they have a little bit of different styles? How do you work with couples bringing that to that just came to mind right now when you were talking about that because I know I've seen even clients where the husband has an opinion sometimes about what someone is
They
wearing.
should. Oh, well, not necessarily what they're
Yeah,
wearing,
yeah,
but with the
no, yeah,
house, he lives there,
yeah.
right? And some people seem to forget that. And I think that's not cool. Like, it's a room for everybody who, or the house is for everybody who lives there.
Uh-huh.
So, key number one is language is not your friend when it comes to design. Because I see most of the arguments happening because people actually mean the same thing, but they're not using the words the same way. So you might have somebody who says, I want a blue room. And the other person has this image in their mind of what that means. And they're like, oh my God, no, I could never live with that. But it's totally different from what the person may have meant. So I always say, if you're redoing a room together, individually go online and find 10 versions of that room. Like, let's say you're going to redo your master bedroom. Partner number one, go find 10 images of master bedrooms that you would be perfectly happy to come home to. Person number two, do the same thing. Don't cheat, don't look at each other, and don't try to choose pictures you think the other person will like. Like, no filters, just 10 that you love. Then you share them with each other or you share them with your designer. Because what I find is the first thing that'll happen is you tend to be more on the same page than you might expect. Not always, I've had to deal with that too. But frequently, especially for couples that have been married a longer time, they're on more the same page than you might expect. So then they don't have to say, this is a blue room. They can just say, I like this room. Because they might still be like, that's not a blue room, right? And you don't need to have that argument. And then if there are differences, there's usually things that are in common. So even if the rooms are quite different, what do they have in common? So like maybe she wants it to be really light and airy and bright, and he wants it to be more like British library cozy. But what they have in common is that they both like clean lines, not super cluttery, more modern aesthetic. So then we go, great. That's what we have in common. Let's bring those elements in for sure. And now who's going to get which priorities? Maybe she gets the color palette, but he gets to define that there's no crystal chandeliers in the room, right? So you start with what's in common, and then you bring in, okay, what is most important to you? What's most important to you? And let's find those good compromises together.
That would be a fun show to watch.
I think
Working with couples with different styles and bringing it together. That would be really cool,
it would
actually.
be really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should tell HGTV.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I want to know what keeps you motivated and inspired as a leader and as a business owner?
um, hmm. I didn't know about myself when this whole thing started that I would enjoy being in business. I don't have a history of thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a business someday. Like, that was never me. It doesn't run in my family or anything. But because my divorce happened and then I randomly started a company and then I needed help and then I got a team, I've discovered over time that I love it. And what I think the reason I love it and the thing that keeps me going, because it's really, really hard, by the way, the thing that keeps me going is I feel like it stretches me. Like I have this profound curiosity to see what will happen next, what I could create, especially because the first 3 or 4 years, there was no intention behind building the business. I was just like, I'll try this, I'll try that. There's no way this is going to work. And then people kept hiring me. And at some point, I had to switch my mentality and go, okay, I have a business. So I guess now that I have a business, what am I going to do with this? And now that I've switched that mentality, now I want to see, well, what can I grow? And I just don't want to leave any stone unturned, which is exhausting because I have more ideas than I have time. Um, but that's the thing. It's like, with every step you take, you just wonder what's around the corner. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. And a lot of people that I interview, it's really interesting. A lot of people talk about curiosity because you
Yeah.
have to have something in you that wants to know, well, what if? What if this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that there's a converse fear side. Well, what if I didn't? What if I didn't try? I'll always wonder what I could have done. And so it's both the curiosity and the desire to see, well, what will happen? And it's a fear that I don't want to die without having at least tried
Mm-hmm.
because, well, that would suck.
And I think what ends up happening is you think, what if I don't do this rather than what if it fails? Like I hardly ever think about what if it fails. That's why I think my ideas just keep going and going. Like you said, I can't keep up. I don't have enough time to do everything
Yeah.
I want to do because I always think like, well, what if I do this? What if we add this?
Yeah. I will say that the fear does definitely got stronger for me once I had a team. Once you're
Mhm.
responsible for other people, at least for me, it gets a little scarier to take the risks and to do big changes because you feel responsible for the well-being of other people.
Yeah.
Um, but that just goes back to the first thing, which is that when we were saying, like, if you're a mom, you still have to take risks, right? Because you're modeling that behavior. What if I could create something even better for my team? If that's possible, then I still have to be courageous enough to take the risk. And I have to be the one that puts on the brave face because it's not my team's job to have the courage for me. It's my job to have the courage for them and say, all right, guys, we're gonna do that. That's what's happening right now. I
Mhm.
mean, we're shut down. And I have to send my team emails and go, I don't know how all the parts are going to fit together on this, but I'm not giving up. And I do believe we're going to come out the other side stronger. And please let me know if you need anything. That's all I can do. But it is actually my job too.
So this is a good way to end this because we're already talking about it a little bit. What piece of advice would you give to somebody that is trying to create change in their life? Because change is hard. The thing that people don't realize is it doesn't just happen. You're going to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 3 steps back when you only took 2 steps forward. So what advice do you have for people that are trying to create this some kind of positive change in their life?
I would say two things. Number one, remember that no matter who you are emulating, right? You look at successful people and you get jealous. You've got to remember that how they got wherever they are was through baby steps and through experimenting. There's no magic bullet. So this is going to be about baby steps. Take the next smallest, or I guess the next biggest step you can, which can be a really tiny step. Break it into tiny achievable steps. That's what I do with my business coaching. I like to say it's not like I'm a business expert or a finance expert or a marketing expert. I'm just a let's get stuff done expert. And right, let's take big goals and turn them into small accomplishable steps because that is the only way to succeed. So that would be advice number one is break it into small steps and do one small step, if not every day, then at least every week. And then the other thing would be surround yourself with supportive people. There are going to be lots of people who won't believe in your dream. Ignore them. And don't give them your time and your energy because they will get in your head. There will also be lots of people who give you lots of advice that is very well meant and not a good fit. And you have to have a way to say, thank you for that advice. I really appreciate where it's coming from, and I'm going to follow my own path anyway. But there will be people who fire you up and get you so excited about your own ideas and give you tools and give you ideas on how to break them into little pieces. And those are the people you need to spend your time with. And for me, so much of that is about the kinds of people you and I met when we were back in business all those years ago. It's entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have this fire in them that is ridiculous. And being in a room full of them, it lights you up. So that's what you need to feed yourself with, because it's contagious, but only in a really good way.
It is very contagious in a good way. And I love when I can call one of my friends up that is also an entrepreneur. We just go back and forth firing ideas. They're like, oh, that's good. What about this? It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not,
And a 9-to-5er, nothing against 9-to-5ers, but they will never get it because entrepreneurship is weird.
It really is. Well, where can we find you? Because everybody has to follow you. Are you on Instagram? What's your website? Tell us where we can find you.
So definitely on Instagram. I'm on my own account. So if you message me on Instagram, I will write back myself. It's at Be Seriously Happy, BE Seriously Happy. And then you can find my book, Happy Starts at Home, on Amazon. You can find my design team at seriouslyhappyhomes.com. And you can find my business coaching for other residential interior designers at seriouslyhappy.com.
I love it. And everybody listening or watching, this will be in the show notes. So you can easily link and click through to get to all of those links there. So thank you so much for being with me today on this beautiful Saturday indoors.
Yes. Enjoy the indoor weather.
I know.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited for where your business has gone and where it's going next.
Thank you. I've already put some of these things into practice myself, but here are my 3 biggest takeaways. 1 is to work with your partner by visually sharing what your style idea is, because when you communicate it through words, sometimes you can't express and show what you're really thinking. I thought this was a great idea, so I'm definitely going to do a Pinterest date with my boyfriend and see what we come up with. Another thing that I'm going to be putting into practice is that sometimes you do just need permission to get an idea going. And right now, what you see behind me is the before, and I'm going to have an after. So the next podcast that you see, you're going to see a totally different background. I'm giving myself permission to do this. I'm a little nervous to see how it goes, but you'll just have to wait and see what happens. And number 3 is that your home can stop you from achieving your goals. So for a while, I didn't do any video content because I don't know too much about home decoration and setting things up properly. And so I wasn't doing some of the videos I wanted to do. But I've gotten inspired by Rebecca to create different spaces in my home for videos and just look on Pinterest and find something I like. So here you're going to see that this space right here I redid, and the video content that you see before looks different. I have 2 other spaces in my home that I reorganized as well to make it just easy for me to go in and do videos when I want to. So I would love for you to share what you learned from this or your biggest takeaway in the comments below. And please subscribe. If you loved this and you love the content that you see, you'll get a notification every time a new video comes out. I'm all about empowering women through fashion and also empowering women to just create change in their life, which is why I do the Lifepreneur Project, because I want to talk to leaders and help you see that every day you can make a different change. You can make a different decision that will change your future and the life that you have. So I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time.